Being an undying celestial being is tough, so I'd just like to take a moment to thank you all for being here, for taking the time to listen to me, because I know the stress these elections have put on your shoulders as they have mine, so don't worry, I'll make it quick. My name is Perseus. I'm the demigod son of Zeus and Danae. Now, the circumstances of my birth were rather unfortunate, and the problems this has caused are all because of my grandfather, who, being a paranoid man, when he heard of the prophecy that it would bring about his death by my hands, he immediately locked my mother away. Now, one would say, why would you do that when your grandson hasn't even been born? Well, he was a paranoid man, so he did that. But the results weren't quite as he'd hoped. Now, my father, he was being a being of immense power. He could appear in whatever way he wished. So he appeared to my mother as a magnificent shower of golden light, and 9 months later, I was born. Now, don't ask me how that happened, it just did. So, I'm pretty sure that everyone has at least seen me one time in their lives, be it in a painting, in a sculpture, or a portrait. You may not have known it was me, but I'm sure you've seen the guy holding Medusa's decapitated head with Athena's famous shield Aegis over his shoulders, wearing Hermes' winged sandals. But more about that later, as right now, I want to address a few problems we Olympians have had over the millennium. Now, I freely admit that my father was an overconfident person. With his volatile nature and temperamental attitude, he's offended a lot of deities over the years, and he's put them all against Olympus. It's caused a lot of problems for everyone, frankly. Now, the incident with Eris and the Golden Apple is practically unmentionable here in Olympus, but I know they all hold it against my father, because who was the one who insisted on not inviting Eris to banquets, making her feel threatened, making her cause chaos? They all hold it against Zeus for that, and to tell you the truth, so do I. Now, my father, he believed he could do no wrong. He believed that righteousness was the way to go, while it clearly wasn't. He thought he could do no wrong, so in the process of leading us all, he caused a lot of problems. Now, I actually think that my father's attitude of not accepting his mistakes and never learning from them is one of the main reasons of my stepmother Hera's bitterness. That caused Hera to be, let's just say, to be bad with Zeus's, the children his lovers bore for Zeus, like me. So what I say is, to avoid unnecessary conflict and undesirable enemies, you have to have an equal amount of confidence and humbleness. And while it may be difficult to balance, it's an essential for leadership. Now, if I were a few years younger and less wise than I was now, I would have told you that I was your only hope and salvation, and that voting for me is your only way to reach the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But that was before I defeated Medusa, killed the sea monster, and saved the princess from certain death. But my quests have taught me lessons that I will never forget, and let me just tell you, I've read of a lot of heroic tales before my time, and a lot of them end with the death of a hero after they grew overconfident and thought they were undefeatable. I mean, just look at Achilles. They say never underestimate your opponent, that they will take the first chance to retaliate and you won't have seen where it came from. Well, I say overconfidence blinds the vision. It stops you from seeing the fault in your actions and inevitably leads you to your downfall. Well, that being said, there must be a balance between bravery and cautiousness as well. Well, too much caution, and you'll find yourself always sitting on the sidelines. That way, no one will want to fight for you. Your soldiers will think you're a lost cause, and they will be resigned to the fate that they'll be dying for an ungrateful leader who only seeks for more fame. On the other hand, an overdose of bravery, well, it will eventually turn to recklessness, and that can get both you and your friends and loved ones killed very, very quickly. And I mean, when they say there's a thin line between love and hate, well, the same thing can be said for bravery and just pure recklessness. If you stay in the middle, you'll be just fine. You can't be dim-witted. You can't be dim-witted and no kind, just go kind of leader, because that leadership will not survive. But you can't be a coward either. Sometimes you have to do the dirty work. You have to roll up your sleeves. You have to do what everyone else does on a daily basis. Now, I can tell you, wading through a murky pool of Zeus knows what, was not my kind of spending away on the weekend. But I had to do it because I had to find Medusa. I mean, just find Medusa, not kill her or anything. That was just for finding her. But lastly, not to sound cliche, loyalty and honesty play a large part in a good leadership. A sense of duty to your people will forever tie you to your kingdom. If you're loyal, if you're honest, if you have the enough amount of bravery and cautiousness, your leadership will last for years and years to come, and no one will forget you. So, in my case, while I was off killing Gorgons, my mother, she was stuck in Seriphos with the king of the island, Polydictes. Let's just say he was a very overbearing person. He was not a good king at all, one can say, because one, he couldn't keep his hands to himself, and two, he was very annoying and arrogant. So my mother and I, we both hate pretentious people because one of them tried to kill her off, the other tried to marry her by force. But thankfully I saved her from that fate by returning from my quest unexpectedly early and turning Polydictes and his overbearing guests into stone using Medusa's decapitated head. Now, in the end I say that taking into consideration the requirements for leadership, I recognize that I'm not entirely uncontested. In my opinion, the most important thing a leader can be is someone his people can look up to, someone they can trust. I support anyone who can bring Olympus back to its greater days. Anyone who can pull it out of its current dilemma, they will have my complete support. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. My ultimate goal is to make Olympus a grander place for all of us. This is our habitat. It's where we live, and it depends on us to keep it safe. So let's elect an efficient leader, someone who knows what they're doing. Even if that person isn't me, let's just do the best we can for us and for Olympus. Zeus be with you.